All right, we're here once again with head football coach Russell Gaskamp. First weekend trip of the week was last week at Assumption. We knew it was a tough Assumption team going in.
Yeah.
Can you wrap that game up for us a little bit?
Yeah, Assumption's got a good football team. They're probably the best one I've seen so far in the league. I think the biggest take out of that, one question that came up a lot during recruiting was, Coach, what's your biggest challenge going to be this year? And I told them, I said, look, we're going to play a team that has a lot of juniors and seniors, and we're going to get beaten up one time pretty good. And that game that was this week. And what I said the biggest challenge for the year was going to be, how as us as a coaching staff are we going to get our kids to go back and respond back the next week and play really, really hard. That team looked like a team that had 15 senior starters, and we looked like a freshman team. And it was all three phases. It wasn't a good game, but. We got in last night. It was one of those games you almost want to burn the film. But we got in last night. We picked 15, 20 plays total and showed, look, if we'll just do the things that we're coaching you to do, and show that if you're in this spot and you would have used this technique or whatever it was particular to that particular play, that they don't have the success that they had on that play, we gave up a play action, their very first offensive play. We should have had a corner in the flat to knock the tight end out. But we busted the coverage and kind of went from there. So it's all little stuff like that we got to get them to understand that if they'll do that, they're going to have success. And then you just wipe that one away and say, hey, we got to go 1-0 this week against a good Southern Connecticut team. So.
Right. So to follow up on that, in addition to the film work, what does practice look like this week? What happens today, tomorrow, Wednesday, to try to get the guys to bounce back from that and focus on a game this week?
Well, number one, we're starting with a young team that's thin right now, and so we have to be able to put in the work in addition to making sure that we're taking care of their bodies and getting guys ready to go for Saturday. And so, our special teams problems have been well known. I think we're going to change up a few things this week. You get to a point of, I think we're doing things that are sound and stuff like that, but we haven't performed well, especially on kickoff and on our punt. And so, we just haven't performed very well. So, our job as a staff is, we have a pretty good sample size now. What are some tweaks, some little changes that we make that we think that we can get the right guys into those spots to then go do what we're asking them to do. So, we're working hard on trying to get it better. So.
Last week we talked a little bit about special teams personnel. You mentioned, finding guys who need to settle into those roles, plus mixing some of your starters in on special teams. What does the ideal blend on special teams look like for you?
Well, ideally you would hope that very few of your starters have to play in it because, we're asking some guys, we're asking guys like Ishmael Johnson to take a ton of reps for us on defense, and he's one of our better players, and then we're asking him to take the special teams reps too. Lo Jackson is doing a little bit of everything for us right now. He played some quarterback in the game. He's taken a lot of reps at receiver. He probably plays 75% of the special teams reps. So we'd like to not be having to do that, but at some point you just have to say, we got to get 11 guys on the field that are going to go do the job, and so you just work to try to find that balance. And like I said, I think there's some scheme things that we can change. Kind of now having that 4 games of being able to see what we're doing and make some adjustments. So that's our job as coaches. So.
All right, let's look ahead. We're into the middle of the season now. Week 5 coming up already at Southern Connecticut State. What do we know about the Owls?
Obviously, me being on the offensive side of the ball, I've seen probably more of their defense so far. They're a very aggressive group that gives you some different looks. They want to challenge you. They play a lot of man coverage, so we're going to have to make some plays throwing the ball. We kind of did that 2 weeks ago. We didn't really do that this last week. We didn't play as well, I thought, at the receiver position as we had 2 weeks ago. Offensively, they got a dual threat kind of quarterback that can hurt you in the running game and the pass game. They're a little bit more spread out, so we're going to have to be in good position to cover guys. And again, with them especially, if you can get them one-dimensional, I think offensively they struggle a little bit. But if you allow their quarterback and some of the read game and stuff like that to make some plays and get some positive rushing yards, then that'll be a challenge for us. So we got to start there, got to stop the run, and then try to get them to be one-dimensional.
Right. So you mentioned they're an aggressive team. To an outsider, probably every football team looks aggressive. What do you guys see that makes Southern Connecticut State looks aggressive when you said they want to challenge you?
Well, I mean, number one, they're gonna overload the box. They're gonna always try to get more guys in the box than you are. They blitz from a lot of different positions. They play some different fronts. They show some different stuff. They do some blitzing that looks more like zone coverage type of stuff, but they're playing man coverage behind it. And so, that's them saying, hey, look, we're going to put our corners out here on the island and say you can't beat them. And so, and like I said, they do a good job of kind of mixing up fronts and coverage and have a lot of respect for what they're doing on the defense side of the ball.
All right. Ask you every week. Most important thing for the Ravens to take care of this week?
We got to bounce back. I mean, obviously when you have a game that's like that, you first and foremost worry about the psyche of your young football team. So far, we've shown that when we've had kind of a rough thing like that we've bounced back and the guys have fought back and resisted, and that's been good. We got to start doing the things that the coaches are telling them to do in those spots, and you always feel bad about showing that stuff in film study because it feels like you're almost calling a kid out in front of the entire team. But at the same time, if you're going to count on your teammates, you got to know that they're going to do the job that they're supposed to do. And so, so much of our focus this week has got to be on us just becoming a better football team, improving overall, trying to get the things that understand what we're trying to do conceptually. And then, last week, we're not turning the ball over a whole lot offensively, but when you take in the special teams mistakes and the turnovers that we did have last week, we're not giving ourselves much of a chance. So,
all right, he's head coach Russell Gaskamp, week 5 at Southern Connecticut State. It's a noon kickoff in New Haven. If you're in the area, come on out and see the guys. Thanks, Coach.
Thanks, appreciate it.